Earlier this week, James Gunn and Peter Safran were appointed the co-CEOs of DC Studios, where they will manage and run the ongoing DC universe of movies and TV shows. It's an interesting prospect. DC have for many years been trying to find someone to do such a thing because they wanted to replicate the success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe of movies, primarily run by producer Kevin Feige. So, how can Warner Bros. Discovery, James Gunn and Peter Safran fix the DCU? Is it even possible? Well, here's what I would do. There are two main ways of doing it, the easy way and the hard way. At this point though, I doubt they can or will take the easy way, but I'll outline what that is just for the fun of it. The easy way is to start from scratch. Get rid of everything that came before and just start again. It's drastic and world-breaking, but it'll help us get a better sense of what the DCU is, because right now the tone, the look, the stories, the characters, they're all over the place. Starting from scratch will help establish a unified vision for the franchise going forward. You don't have to start everything from scratch though. Some of the actors, for example, are quite good in their roles, and it would be a bit of a shame to get rid of them. So personally, I would keep the likes of Henry Cavill, Margot Robbie, Gal Gadot, and the Suicide Squad cast as well. There are a couple of others too, but those are the main ones to hold on to. As for the movies, this is where you cheat a bit and you really take the easy way. You look at what Marvel did, and you do that. Plain and simple. It worked, it was great, why mess with it? DC and Warner Bros. Have already tried to do their own spin on it and failed. So copy Marvel in terms of the initial structure and setup. That means you start with a series of solo movies. Not necessarily origin movies though. These solo movies establish who the key cast of characters are, and they then lead up to the first Justice League, where they come together to take on a big threat. Start with Batman. Establish the tone and look and feel of this world while showcasing a character we already know and love. It sets things up in a somewhat grounded way, and it's something we can all get into to some extent. You then do a Superman movie, where you're essentially adding an alien into the mix and grander, larger superpowers as well. You're expanding on the world already established in the prior Batman movie, but not in super drastic, fast ways. Important note though, keep its story separate from Batman. This isn't a sequel to that movie. You then do the Flash movie. Make it an origins movie because not everyone knows what his origins are. They've been done a few times, but there are some differences here and there. The most important thing here is that you're adding meta-humans into the mix. Again, expanding on the world already established. We're not adding too much at once. You then do Wonder Woman, adding ideas around gods and myths and deities. This is where you really push things just a bit further. Again, expanding the world. Each of these standalone movies works as a standalone movie with its own story and characters that happen to share the world they live in. You then follow all of these movies up with Justice League, where you bring all of these characters together because they have to deal with a bigger threat. Perhaps you have hints of this threat in the prior movies, or just one or two of them. But we have to know this is coming before the Justice League movie itself happens. Otherwise there's less hype and less anticipation for it. This movie can also introduce otherworldly characters like Martian Manhunter and Green Lantern. But again, don't push it too far. Don't add too much at once. After that movie, you can then start to have fun, perhaps doing an Aquaman movie or a Suicide Squad movie, and maybe movies on some other characters as well. You could then start doing movies focusing on lesser known characters like Blue Beetle, Hawkwoman, Constantine, Green Arrow and more. Larger ideas like the multiverse and the different timelines and continuities, they can be explored much later down into the future, once you've firmly established the core cast of characters and we care enough about them to the point that their existence is at risk. Over the course of all of this, you build up to the big bads, the likes of Darkseid. That gives us a reason to keep coming back, a reason to get excited, and it gives all of these movies a larger goal and purpose, something they can focus on, even if it is in the background for the most part. Now, that's the easy way. The hard way, which I'll say is the more likely route that DC and Warner Bros. Are going to take, is to continue from where we are now. This is harder because it means we are stuck with the stories, the characters and the world that's already been established. It gives James Gunn and Peter Safran less room to work in, forcing them to work in a world that on one hand feels firmly established because of the age of certain characters and their fictional history, but on the other hand feels under-established because so much of this fictional history has happened before the movies that we've already gotten. For example, Ben Affleck's Batman already has a past and a history with established rogues that we know very little about. It's not in any of the movies. That limits the possibilities there. First thing you do though is bring back Superman. Warning, I'm going to spoil Black Adam's ending here. Superman has already been brought back and he's played once again by Henry Cavill. Great. But we need a new start for him, a new, more colourful and cheerful and optimistic tone for him. After all, he's supposed to be the face of the DCU, the hero we all love. Yet so far, he's seldom been seen, and when we do see him, he's all grey and moody. That's not Superman. You then recast Ben Affleck's Batman. This isn't a knock against his Batman, I think he's perfectly fine in the role. The problem is that he keeps changing his mind about wanting to play the character. For the past few years, he's come and gone multiple times, and it's starting to get tiresome. Recast him with someone who will definitely stick around. By all means, keep the age if you really want. You probably have to at this point. But it would be good to explore his history more with a standalone movie. You then absolutely have to recast Ezra Miller. This person is a real problem. They're currently on trial for one of multiple crimes that they've committed at this point, and they're at risk of going away for 26 years. They're a problem and they need to go. Speaking of problems, also recast Amber Heard. She's not as big of a problem as Ezra, but she's mired in controversy because of the things she may or may not have done, and certain fans and audiences won't want to watch a movie with her in it. Luckily, she's a supporting character in Aquaman, so her recasting is much easier to do. We then have the upcoming Flash movie to consider. This is the real point where things get interesting, because depending on what happens in this movie, this is where the DCU can reinvent and relaunch itself. There are a ton of possibilities here, because of the focus on time travel and the multiverse. If they're smart and able to, they'll make sure to sort of reboot or relaunch the franchise starting with the end of this movie. That's what the rumours are anyway. After this movie, you then have to have a larger goal and purpose. Like the easy way, we need something to look forward to, something to build up to. Regardless of what you thought of the Snyderverse, there are still loose ends there to finish, including the whereabouts of Darkseid. That's something we could do. Or build up to another villain. Without this overarching element, there's little reason to keep coming back and watch the larger DC universe. The current DCU gets confusing and convoluted though, when there are so many products that aren't related to the DCU. Joker and The Batman, for example, are really good movies, but their existence does cause some confusion. I'm sure it does. I'm all for these movies to exist and for them to keep getting made, but it's vital that their difference from the core DCU is firmly established. I'd personally love to see a movie about Clayface or Mr. Freeze in the style of Joker, and I want Pattinson's Batman to continue too. On the TV front, we have a similar problem. There are 2 TV spin-offs to The Batman. Great, I'm looking forward to them. I like that movie, and I want more of that world. But again, make it clear that that world is separate from the DCU. Peacemaker is thus far the only TV show in the DCU, and it's good. I'm all for more shows like this, focusing on more lesser characters, expanding on the world and universe, and really delivering stories that cannot be told in a movie. Keep this up, but once again, make it very clear where the show exists. Perhaps the most important thing moving forward is to explore new characters. We've seen certain heroes and villains done to death. How many versions of the Joker are there now? How many times have we seen Zod and Lex Luthor? Moving forward, I would like to see lesser known or less commonly seen characters get their moments to shine. And that's the hard way. Personally, if I was in charge, I'd go the easy way and start from scratch. But maybe that's just me, I don't know. It does mean ridding certain movies and characters from continuity or existence, which would be a shame. but in the long run, it might be the best way forward. Whatever approach is taken, it's certainly going to be tough and messy. It's going to upset some people and please others. But one way or another, the DC universe will change, and hopefully it'll be for the better. That's how I will fix the DCU, and that's how I think James Gunn and Peter Safran will fix it. What do you think? Let me know in the comments and feedback down below, and of course subscribe to my channel, youtube.com/the_Grant Burton, for more content like this and all my film and TV reviews as well. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram as well at the_Grant Burton, and until next time, thanks for watching.